What?
Spoilers.
Oh. Fantastic.
My name is Christian Basil. Years ago, I had an idea. I got myself a TARDIS. Took it to new places, met a lot of new people, took some great pictures, and talked Doctor Who. From Krypton Radio and the creators of the Hanging With web show, this is the legend of the Traveling Tardis. Join me on my latest adventures and become part of the legend. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Legend of the Traveling TARDIS. My name is Christian Basil, and in just a few moments, I'm going to be introducing our panelists today. And Happy New Year, everybody. Truly, Happy New Year. We're hoping that your New Year has started off right, Has it ended the same way since 2021 when we lost a very wonderful and dear legendary icon? I had to check the news like 5 or 6 times. It really was like, you're kidding me, right? There's no way that this can be true. But yeah, we did lose Betty White just a couple weeks before her 100th birthday, and that is awful. I mean, we may even talk about her in a bit there. We wish she was part of the WHOniverse. I don't think she ever crossed into the WHOniverse, but definitely there's no way we can talk about television and the history thereof without crossing a lines with Betty White, especially in shows like the Mary Lee Tyler Moore Show and not Empty Nest, my goodness, the Golden Girls. Wow, I can't even talk this morning. Yeah, we're up early, and we're up on a Sunday talking about Eve of the Daleks, which we'll be reviewing in just a few moments. So thank you, everyone, for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Our numbers are growing. Our goal was 2,000 subscribers by the end of this year. We've come very close, though. We've come very close. We're about like 1,650. And that's a testament to all of you for supporting us, for being there. So if you're on the Facebook page, just swing over to the YouTube channel, give us a little subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll know when we're doing shows beforehand. But today we're going to be reviewing Eve of the Daleks. I just kind of watched it, and I watched a little bit of the previews. Not the previews, where they had an extended special where they had like behind the scenes stuff, and I tried to watch that as best I could there. But without further ado, let me go ahead and introduce our panel today. First off, forgot somebody. There we go. Good morning, gentlemen. Let me go ahead and release your mics out there. We're going to start with Mike Faber from the EOSO Network, also Earth Station Who. How you doing there, Mike? It's been a while, and I'm glad you're back. Happy New Year to you, sir.
Happy New Year, Christian. Thank you for having me.
No,
it is really awesome to be here, and we get to talk about the Doctor Who New Year special, and or as I refer to it as Groundhog Day. So it was pretty awesome.
And I'm going to get into that because it's not the first time that Doctor Who has been introduced to what we call the time loop, and I'll be actually going back into a few episodes in the past where we're going to be discussing where the time loop has been discussed out there. And I'll be getting to your chat since Melanie is not up, but she's working. So if you miss Melanie, sorry, but she will be back on later episodes coming out the new year. So welcome there, Mike. Mike, I want to also say something. Just in case, I'm letting people know there is a 50-50 chance that I will be on Mike's show this coming Tuesday. The 4th, is it the 4th? Yeah, it's the 4th.
Yes, the 4th.
What time is you're going to be reviewing Eve on your show as well, right?
Yep, we're going to be doing it, but our show is not live. It is taped. Okay, and so we'll be reviewing it on Tuesday, but it'll be going live on Friday.
Okay, cool beans. So we'll be recording on Tuesday if I'm able to, and I definitely want to try out to get out there and do that. But
scheduling a welcome space on the station. So it's
I would love to be on the on your side when we review it. So we're reviewing it here, and then we're going to be reviewing it over on your side out there. Speaking of reviews, because Melanie would say I'm the worst segue ever. Kevin, welcome back.
Wow.
With Husbands Talking More or Less podcast. How you doing there, Kevin? I think we got some audio issues on your side, Kev. Sorry, we can't. Your mic's open, but I'm not getting any audio. Oh yeah. Can you other guys hear Kevin? Because I can't hear him.
No, can't hear.
I'm just gonna recycle a microphone. Hopefully that might do it. No, nothing, Kevin. I'm sorry there. We'll get to you, Kevin. Let's see if you can fix that up there. I'm just gonna pull you right back. And speaking of segues, here you go, Joey. How you doing there? Good morning, Joey. Welcome to the show. Joey is frightened so much. Oh, there we go. He's moving. Now, Joey's having some issues with his Wi-Fi, and I know he's said he's got some storms in the area, so very forgiving out there, Joey. How you doing out there?
I'm well, thanks. I hope you guys can hear me as well. Happy, a very happy, healthy, prosperous, and non-eventful 2022. And on this Sunday of all Sundays, if you happen to be familiar with this thing called Sports Ball, they're paying tribute to the late, great John Madden, who was a true ambassador to football and one of the greatest guys anyone could ever meet. And I know we're not here to talk about that. We're here to talk about greatest Red Dwarf episode of Doctor Who I've ever seen in my entire life.
Jeez, okay. And we want to say hello, everybody in the chats. We want to say hello to Sophie Flay. Thank you for joining us this morning. I know you're used to me being on Sundays later in the day, but we did this one a little bit earlier, so everybody had a chance to enjoy their weekend out there. Carl, for once, I saw the show before. I saw the show before this show. So good, Carl. So you know what we're talking about. Terry MacGyver is watched Eve of the Daleks yesterday. Excellent episode. Really looking forward to see where this goes from here. And remember, this is one of 3 episodes that are left before Jodie departs, does her swan song episode out there for her final. Howdy, Mark. Thank you. Don't forget, Mark is responsible for the episode that we had a while back with Melanie eating chocolates and becoming a chocoholic. So if you want to take a chance at looking at it, go over to our YouTube channel and just watch the episode. I forgot what it was called, but you'll find it. It's the unboxing of chocolates. I will try to see if I can find it out there. Carl says, my presence for lunch is requested,
Christian,
so I'm putting on my light. Yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Why does it look like I'm throwing my voice? Well, loud and clear.
We can hear you okay,
but do we have a 4-shot here, or
no, it's just you.
Okay,
you're fine. Yeah, it's okay. I haven't swung back yet. And this is the case. I was trying to see if I can get Kevo's mic working, so I bought him some time before I swing back over. That's why I'm getting to the chats there. For my presence for lunch is requested, so I'm putting on my like and a comment, and at least it was better than Flux. So Carl says it's a bit better than Flux out there. Sophie. Hi, everybody. Everybody's saying hi to each other out there. Mark says Joey is a cheesehead. No, from Bears fans.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay. And Kevo, is everything cool with your microphone?
Who's in the playoffs again this year for the 3rd straight time?
Okay. Kevo, it's now saying your mic is not connected from StreamYard, so it's not even registering. It's weird. It's not even letting me unmute your microphone at this point. It's not even releasing. I apologize.
No.
That's okay. We're working out the technical bugs.
Go under Cam mic and try seeing if you could select your microphone that way. Kev.
Go for it.
There
we go.
There we go. That was it. That was it. All right.
Yeah, see, my technical knowledge worked. I'm impressed.
You're actually lucky that I was muted for so long, because when you said Betty White was on Empty Nest, I actually gasped, because I am a Golden Girls fan by marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And Empty Nest is a spinoff of Golden Girls, not the other way around.
I know. I just, like I said, my brain is not functioning as much as
I'm teasing you.
Speaking of teasing, all right, Kevo, your turn up for best.
Yes.
Happy New Year, Kevo. I'm glad you're
Happy New Year.
Working. Tell us a little bit about what's going on and what are you doing? What did you do for New Year's?
Not much, quiet, low key. It's been a year for everyone, especially, for me. I suffered a pretty big loss this year. And so the holidays were pretty subdued and quiet, and looking forward to, getting back into things and really regrouping in 2022. We're starting to build up our YouTube channel as well for Hubs Plus Network, which is what we are calling the combination of Husbands Talking More or Less, which is the podcast I do with my husband, along with the podcast he does with an amazing group of people about X-Men and Marvel Comics and all sort of other stuff called X's for Podcast. So we're going to be launching some cool content this year, and just looking forward to talking about nerdy stuff.
And this is the 2nd year without my dad for Christmas. Christmas was a big deal to him, and my family sent me his family in Maryland sent me a couple pictures of him, and we're actually trying. We put him on the tree this year, and next year we're going to try to see if we can't make his photos into ornaments to be part of the Christmas tree this year.
That's
so
wonderful.
I feel your brother and all my love. I will speak for everybody here. All my love and everything to you and your family out there.
Thanks, bud.
So everybody, I hope you're having a great New Year, and you can tell us in the chats what you've been doing for New Year's. But in the meantime, I'm just going to warn you, just in case you missed it earlier, we're going to be doing a thing called
what?
Spoilers.
Fantastic.
So there's going to be a good chance that we're going to be spoiling you throughout.
That's awesome.
The episode. So if you have not seen the episode, but you're okay with being spoiled, keep watching. If you've seen the episode, keep watching. But if you have not seen the episode, don't want to be spoiled, put this
Come back.
Yeah, and come back to it, and then tell us what you think after the show as well. But in the meantime, let me go ahead and run the trailer for Eve of the Daleks. And for those of you who may have not seen it, here we go.
Happy Nearly New Year.
Hiya, Nick.
Here we are again.
Here we are again.
Anyone else got a proper deja vu?
We're stuck in a time loop with killer robots.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It will kill everything not within its own image.
Shoot.
Jodie comes up. Don't forget to subscribe to the official Doctor Who YouTube channel.
That was cute.
So there we go. That is the trailer for Eve of the Daleks. So we hope you caught it. As we're going to be doing, as we start with every show, we're going to give you our ratings, and I'm going to keep mine till the very end because I run this damn show. So there you go. And then I'll explain to you whatever, but what my feelings about the episode is. So without further ado, just at random, Kevo, between 1 and 10, 1 being not so great, 10 being awesome. How many TARDISes are we putting up on this screen?
Like between 7 and 8.
Okay.
It was fun.
Okay, let's do a 7/8 there. Joey, between 1 and 10. How many TARDISes would you give?
I'm probably. Well, I'm going to say 8.5, but also A for effort, and an A- for execution, because this is not your typical run-of-the-mill Daleks running up and down corridor saying exterminate. This is someone deciding, what if we could do it this way? Try this avenue. And
hang on, Joey. I don't mean to cut you off there,
but
no, we just need the number because after the commercial break, we're going to go into discussions. We just want to see who's going to be going first by the numbers. So we're going to say you're an 8 at this point, correct? No worries, Joey.
Yes.
I know. I want to talk about it too, but we still got the show proper to run, and we want to make sure people stick around to hear why we picked for it. Mike Favor from the
yes.
Give me 1 through 10.
I'm going to just do a 7.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward.
Guys are not making it easy for me. Who's going to be the lowest number there? So, because Kevin started off first, we're going to go with him in just a few moments. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, we're going to be going through your chats. Let me go ahead and jump on those before we hit a commercial break. If you want to put your numbers in, let me know. Go ahead, put them in there. Post what number you think, 1 through 10, about this episode. Ramona says, Mappy New Year. Okay. Well, not
Sure.
exactly. Go ahead, Kevin. If you know something I don't, go ahead.
No, sure. Why not? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Yeah, watched it there. And welcome, Sarah Fisher. Happy New Year, everyone. Highly enjoyed the Eve of the Daleks. Go Pack, go. And I got to visit my parents for the first. Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Good.
That is awesome.
Good.
I think we have the lowest score with Mark Robinson, though. He gave a 4.
Oh, okay.
He goes first.
He goes first? Okay. Start typing away, Mark. So we can get to Mark. We got Sophie, Rest 10. Okay. Mark Robinson, Hellbent versus Eve of the Daleks. Hellbent so much better. I do understand this was filmed during COVID. Yeah, I was going to mention that as well. And Ramona 7 TARDIS is because they missed a few prime openers for future episodes. Okay, well, that's the case. We got our numbers. We're going to get started, and Kevin's going to start us off as soon as we get back from a commercial break. When we return, please continue to stay logged on, tuned in, and become part of the legend.
Oh, brilliant! It's hard to believe that in the 56-year history of the greatest sci-fi television show in the English language, there has never been a fan guide to Doctor Who. The official books might give you what they think you need to know, but only a guide written by a true fan will give you what you really want to know. Join WHOvian, the brilliant Mackenzie Flaw, as she takes you on an intensive journey inside the world of the first female Doctor. In the Binge Watcher's Guide to Doctor Who, Season 11. Right, let's get a shift on.
Jackie Sonnenberg's My Soul to Keep is a ghost story rooted in the realities of actual cults. When 13-year-old Sky Monroe arrives at her new boarding school, all she can think about is death and connecting with the afterlife. Soon she discovers her school's spirituality group, the Guardians of Light, and they have a secret. They can speak with the dead, and the organization is a cult. But this isn't Sky's only problem. The campus house where Sky resides is haunted, and even the ghosts have an agenda. They intend on getting the souls they want. Filled with mystery and intrigue plucked straight from the headlines, author Jackie Sonnenberg's research and attention to detail give this ghost story an even more eerie atmosphere. Find My Soul to Keep on Amazon.com today.
Hey there, this is Meredith Loughran with Ragin, and I wanted to let you know that we encourage and promote independent creators and their projects through organic interaction, consultations, and more. Visit Nita and me at RaginAVC.com for details and contact information. Hit the button.
And the Legend of the Traveling Tardis, whether you're watching on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, we are powered by Ragin, so please check him out and subscribe. Thank you for joining us here at the Legend of the Traveling Tardis. My name is Christian Basil. That is Mike Faber. That is Kevin Reese, and Joey has disappeared. I think.
Did the Daleks get him again?
I think that storm that he mentioned. Hopefully,
he'll come back on the next loop.
Oh, and we still got numbers coming in. Sarah, 8 Daleks. 8 Daleks?
10, I guess.
Yeah, we got Sophie for
Good
10,
for you,
10.
Sophie. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Awesome, Sophie. I'm glad you liked it that much.
Shock about Zach loved Doctor Who. Gotcha out there. Okay. And Joey just sent me a behind-the-scene message. He will be trying to get back in here. And by the way, he is the highest number. So technically, he will be going last. So without further ado, Kevo, you rated a 7 to 8. Talk to me, Goose. How did that come to play?
You know, I this week finally binged all of Flux. I hadn't seen a single episode, so I watched the entire thing on Friday, finally, in preparation for New Year's Day, and I really overall enjoyed it. It was really half-baked, but I just don't care. It's been a really hard 2 years, and I'm not about to take Doctor Who that seriously anymore. I don't think it did anything to hurt the brand, and it was just fun. And that's sort of how I feel about a lot of what's going on in Doctor Who right now. It's just, it's not the best thing I've ever seen in my life. But is it like kill Chris Chibnall over? No, he's on his way out the door. It's fine. Do I wish he'd done a better job? About some things, but I mostly just don't get his specific weird fetishes, like this weird fetish of using Daleks every New Year's Day, even though this story is now not at all connected to the previous two-parter, or like, I don't know why he always needs an older white guy to be present in every single story that he tells. Like, if you go historically through all of his scripts, it's really true. So getting rid of, why can't I think of what Gramps' name is? Graham. I mean, it's right there. Graham. Only replacing Graham with Dan feels like a very specific Chris Chibnall move. Like, he always needs an older white guy in all of his stories. But he uses them well, and I love Dan, and I think that he's a great addition, and I love what he's bringing to Team TARDIS. I think it's a really interesting dynamic that he now has this history with Yaz, and it was cute to see it play out between the two of them. I felt like they were being a little bit too mean to him for a little while, but then when she was like, when Yaz was like, nobody makes fun of my mate except me, okay, that was cute. He's a great addition. I really, really loved most of all his moment of knowing that John Bishop himself is the father of a queer child. His moment with Yaz, where he tried to be there for her with her feelings for the Doctor. And then not only that, but called the Doctor out on it to her face. That was such a wonderful parent of a queer child moment, and to give that to John Bishop, who is that in real life, was really cool, and it meant so much to me watching this episode.
Okay.
I couldn't agree more with that. That was awesome. That was such a great moment when he did that, and how understanding he looked at Yaz and says, "I spent 4 years with you on the road, and
Yep.
every time you looked at that hologram of her, every time you look at her, you could tell there's something there." And when he went to the doctor to try to tell her, the doctor was oblivious, and I I'm very disappointed with that, because they've done that multiple times with the doctor's character, and the doctor's a little more understanding than that. And they did it with Graham's cancer. They did it with something during Flux. I don't remember exactly, but it was a moment when I think it was when Cardenista race was killed. She just blew it off, and it was just like, the doctor is not that cold and that oblivious to things.
I wonder if Chris Chibnall is trying to tell some kind of arc of the doctor not really being sure how to navigate her feelings in a female body and not sure how to present emotionally, but it doesn't quite land. It's not like my least favorite thing about a doctor, but I definitely see where you're coming from, where it feels like this doctor in particular just doesn't seem to know how to interact with human beings at times. It's odd, but
But
the
it was
doctor's an odd character.
that was one of the best moments of the episode, was the interaction between Yaz and Dan. It was awesome. It was beautiful, and it showed the closeness. And yes, these people, have spent time together on the TARDIS and on other adventures. And we didn't get to see the whole thing with Professor Jericho, Yaz, and Dan, but you knew they were there from 1901 to like 1906 or something.
1904, something like that.
Something like that. But they had adventures. They were close. They were in close proximity. You learn about a person if you see them every single day, every moment, and you just learn. And I just thought it was great to show that relationship was there. I think that scene alone was better than any scene that they did between Graham and Yaz and Ryan at all.
And I want to say, I personally don't inherently ship Yaz and the Doctor. I don't get that ship personally, but there's a lot of ships that are popular that I don't get. What I do love and appreciate and am rooting for is, I love narrative arcs about companions falling in love with the Doctor, or the ways they navigate their feelings with the Doctor. So I really think this story with Yaz is really cool. I really love it. And I kind of hope the Doctor doesn't reciprocate, because that's also a narrative that's worth telling. Just because Yaz is in love with the Doctor doesn't mean every companion isn't Rose, and Rose even has sort of been now not forgotten, but the Doctor's moved on, and that's the nature of an immortal character like this.
Oh yeah,
so
it's been
I love
thousands
this.
of years since Rose was with the
Yeah.
Doctor, if you go by the timelines between everything. And so yeah, you're exactly right. And I didn't mean to interrupt you at all. Sorry.
No, go
about
for
that.
it. It's all chat.
Yeah, but it's interesting too, because you spend someone, you have somebody who's with you, who's heroic, who's an adventurer, somebody you idolize, and you start having feelings for that person. And it could be a mentor, or it could be a doctor, or like in this case. And I've shocked more companions don't show emotion and feelings towards the Doctor, not sexually or anything. I'm not saying that at all. Like, I'm sure Yaz has fallen in love with the Doctor, and it's been obvious since pretty much the second season with her and the Doctor. It's been building, and it's been a nice slow build though, and I like that it came out in this episode.
Ramonda jumps in and says, you got to remember how close Troughton was to Fraser Hines too. So
exactly. We just talked about that, because we just reviewed Evil of the Daleks on our show this last week, and it was pretty much a Jamie and Doctor story, and they threw Victoria in like intermittently and brought her on as a companion, and it was the Doctor and Jamie were the closest thing to a bromance that you could ever get. And it was, and for the 1960s especially, it was pretty much there. And I would have loved to see what would have happened today if it was, if would they have taken it further. So
I don't know. Maybe it's just a little different from my perspective, and it's not that. I think what I'm trying to say is, from the beginning, it's just like it worked for me because we've been down this road before, and after River Song, it just kind of, I think we need to stop going to that romantic interlude. It worked for me with Rose because he had the PTSD. He was coming out of that. So that really screwed him up, and going into David Tennant. But we've done this with Rose. We've done this with Martha. We kind of hinted it with Donna. We did it with
don't disagree. I do not agree
no,
at all.
No,
wait, hang on. They were bringing it into the stories, but even there was a scene between them in what was it, Pompeii, where it's like, oh, your husband and wife, and like, no. That there was no relationship, but it was mentioned that I just want to mate, that scene and all of that, and there were kind of hints of it. It wasn't a relationship of the kind like Martha was or Rose was. It was kind of, they were standing off of that relationship, even though she ended up kissing him to save his life from the poison in the Wasp episode. Then
it was also 14 years ago, just for the record.
Right. I'm not done with my thought.
Just saying.
Sorry, I know, but that's what I'm saying. It's then we've gone to Clara. Who is Clara? I'm not your boyfriend. Then we've gone into things, and then we went into being the Doctor having the wife, the River Song, and you can't love a monolith, because a monolith doesn't love you back. That's what she said. So to me, the Doctor being a Time Lord is beyond the romance. It's not beyond the romance of things, but is beyond all this. There is, when it comes to sex and everything. And he explained that to Bill in one of the episodes. I can't remember. It was one of the intro episodes. So the Time Lords are beyond this. So that's why, even according to what they've written, gender doesn't, really, it doesn't rank here. You and I love is not what maybe the Time Lords had. And even especially when it came to River Song, you couldn't, the roots of the sunshine. He brushed it off, but he never addresses it until we get to the very end, where they're just standing there, and everybody I know and their mother was telling me, I wanted them to kiss, and I said, no, that was the perfect moment. That was it. That's the way it should have ended, just of them staring at each other, and that was it. There, Joey, did you have a comment about that, or?
Well, we're talking about the whole matter of shipping, and yet who's the next producer of Doctor Who? Russell T Davies. Yeah. Who I hope that he'll probably take the show in a direction far different than what he initially had set it off to as well. Now, granted, maybe Stephen Moffat decided to use the plot device and just keep going with it. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. But yet you're bringing in somebody whom a lot of people, I'm not going to say Chibnall haters, but people who don't agree with Chris Chibnall, a lot of people are saying, oh, thank God, finally, someone who's going to steer this ship back on course. But if we're complaining about the shipping, what course is he going to plot now this time?
That's what I've been saying.
No, and I think that's a valid point. It's just like, who's to say, he brought the series back, but who's to say he's going to take care of the series going forward? Everybody was coming back and saying, hey, you know what, this is damage control from Chris Chibnall. That's why RTD came back. And I've got to agree. I'm just like, well, if something's working, you should be moving forward. You should be moving ahead, or you should be extending its worth. But it doesn't seem that way. And a lot of people are going like, oh, RTD, please save us. And I'm like, but there's no telling that it's going to be better. Although the series is in good hands, we're making a presumption because we don't know where he's going with it, and he hasn't told us. It's not like, oh, I've already laid out. I think right now, if I'm not mistaken, they're already auditioning for the new Doctor. I think I heard in the rumor mill. So, we could be looking at something far worse. What does it say? You can't go back to what you can't go back home sometimes. I don't know if RTD does, but I think
I get the feeling, and I'm not exactly sure. There's nothing I can prove about that. But the coming back of RTD means that something went wrong in the Chibnall cycle, and they're going back to. That's my opinion on that.
But that's an inherently television perspective on creative forces. If this was a comic book, writers come back to old projects all the time. And Doctor Who being now almost 60 years old, I'm not saying you're entirely wrong either, because I think he probably was asked.
But he said he wouldn't go back. This is him.
But people change their mind. He changes his mind all the time.
But I wouldn't announce it. I wouldn't be, and I'm trying to say this in the nicest way. I wouldn't be a Barbara Streisand going on my third tour saying, "Oh, I'm never going to sing again. I'm never going to go on tour again." Either you do it or you don't. And at some point, yes, people change minds. That's fine. I think the mind changing is the lucrative. I mean, it's being bought out by Sony. Bad Wolf. He's getting a lot of pull, and I think Doctor Who is in good hands as far as financial is concerned right now because of everything that's going on.
I think that was I think that was it. I think it was a lot of follow the money, especially now since the BBC is entering a new 100 years as it were, and they want to change the direction of not just how they're producing programs, but also their business model. I mean, still charging people to have their service through the radio and television act. Back at one point in time, they were the only game in town, and here they are now. They're just part of the buffet with ITV and Channel 4 and Channel 5 and Sky and all these other outlets. So now there's more choice. So now they have to find a way to compete. But yeah, they can't stay with their current situation. And at least in my opinion, I think it was a magnificent idea to farm out Doctor Who and Toto, especially with someone who has known the program ever since he was hiding behind the sofa, and someone whom a lot of people I trust at the Beeb, at the front office, had essentially said, listen, we don't want to just give it to anybody. We want it to someone that we know is going to take very, very good care of it, and hopefully we'll pass it on to someone who will also do the same thing. So I'm hoping that's what the case is. But yeah, just a lot of changes, at least where the medium's concerned behind the scenes.
It's going to be very interesting to see where it goes too, because, now that you have, Bad Wolf and you have Sony behind Bad Wolf, are we going to now see a pickup of better marketing of Doctor Who also? Because, a friend of mine who lives in the UK, he went to one of the toy stores, which usually carries a lot of different stuff. He couldn't find any Doctor Who stuff.
Not surprised.
And it's real interesting as from halfway through the Capaldi era through Jodie's era, the marketing has sucked from BBC on promoting Doctor Who toy wise. They even let their contract with Funko Pop end. And it's just amazing to see how much, BBC could care less about it, and the stuff they put out for it was garbage. Even the sonic screwdrivers.
I wouldn't say BBC couldn't.
Go ahead, Joey.
Okay. And then we got a commercial break.
Well, I couldn't say that they couldn't. I couldn't say they couldn't care less. It's just when you have an annual budget, you have to figure out, okay, what's going to give us the biggest yield? And in terms of television rights, in terms of syndication rights, in terms of DVD and streaming rights, that's where the money's coming in. I mean, if you're expecting to do a TV show for the sake of selling toys, and I know Power Rangers and Pokemon are the exceptions to the rule, but in this case, you're dealing with not just an animated series that might be enjoyed by a generation about an iconic television program for whom, yes, they want the greatest deal in their dollar, but they just believe it's not through toy sales, or it's not through any shall we say any not residual, but pretty much anything on the side outside of the production of the program and the distribution of the program, and the selling wide, and as well as various forms of media, DVD. as well as streaming. And someone had the right idea, at least, to continue to have Big Finish produce Doctor Who audio dramas through 2030, because they realized, okay, this is where the money is. So
that's just
in terms of
work of genius.
toy line,
With the Big Finish, though, it's pretty amazing that they're
but
doing
still,
that. But but with the streaming is so fractured right now with Doctor Who. You need to have it all together. It's on BritBox for the old series. It's on HBO.
Mike, I don't mean to cut you off. Hold that thought. I'm just going to run through the commercials. When we return, we're going to continue this discussion. Please stay logged on, tune in, become part of the legend. Stand by.
Author Cindy Kep is writing on the edge. Books include Remnant in the Stars, The Loudest Actions, Lines of Succession, Mindstorm, Condemned Courier, the Yerushalayim series, and Animal Eye. Find author Cindy Kep at CKOEPP.com today.
This is Cosplay Michael with the Hanging Out Club Show. I want to tell you about my friends at Embellis Effects in Orlando, Florida. They've got makeup, costumes, and props for all of your costume needs. And the team at Embellis Effects is helpful and friendly. Embellis Effects is one of my favorite places, and I know it will be yours too. I'll see you there. Or go to embelliseffects.com. And remember, cosplay is for everyone.
Mike's going to continue discussion, but let me go ahead and jump into the chats because a lot of them came through. Reason why, Mark says, reason why 4-time loop used before Sonic was used via too much Daleks, claw, and Gatling gun, just wrong for it. I don't know why. I kind of agree. I don't. The Gatling gun was a little bit weird, but it's okay. It had it. It was just like, okay, is this the upgrade version, or because they had the one gun that did all the damage that it did, versus Recon Dalek, Special Weapons Dalek in one room out there, and they miss a load of one-liners between this. Okay, I'm not exactly sure, but I'll try to read that. Scouse, Manchurian, and Sheffield were rival between the cities. Let me jump down here. Sorry, Ramona, I'm getting to your chats. And Fourth Doctor, and
Mancunian.
Mancunian. Thank you for clarifying that for me. 6 and Mel were close, but
Mancunian.
Was never crossed online. Kiss with Rose with 10, New York. I read it was not scripted. That kiss was a shock for me as to the fandom. Yeah, the very first. Well, I'm going to tell you where everything kind of went into weirdness with the romance of the Doctor is the Eighth Doctor.
Yeah.
With the kiss heard around the world, but it's not the first time the Doctor has been kissed. It actually was in classic series where people just kind of, I guess it was blown up because he was kissed on the cheek, but it was Nyssa who gave him the goodbye kiss before she would leave the TARDIS for the last time on Terminus. So, Chris Sheffield, welcome. William Hartnell wouldn't approve of the hanky-panky in the TARDIS. And apparently he
was engaged once in Series 1. I just read about it.
Yeah, it was but he was trying to get out of it, too. In the, what was it, the Aztecs? The Aztecs, yeah. It was an
take coffee from strangers.
Exactly. Okay. In the UK, speculation the new Doctor to be new Alexander due to RTD Davis. It's
probably not.
Most likely not. Even in his, I think his agent even said he's not even he's trying to focus on his music. Still a tea time show. If it turned into a Snodfest, it would be canned before Mary Whitehouse could blink. That's another show for another time out there. Adrian says Terrence Dix wrote the first story of the Topic Air episode, the first story of the Graham Williams 10-year pop back for a storyline. The first JNT did the 20th anniversary special, almost like dropping in to keep the ship on course. So I like RTD is coming back to course correct.
Yeah, he's the closest thing we have to a Godfather right now for the show.
I think.
Oh yeah, very much so. Agree with
now,
that.
You can disagree with me, but I think this was the case, and I think maybe part of this was that I think RTD. We don't know what to do with this show, and we're also losing licensing fees because everybody's bailing out of the BBC. If you don't do this, if you don't take on Doctor Who, we're going to put in the wilderness years again, and I think that might have been a clinch to bring it back. That's my opinion.
And I don't disagree entirely with that, like I said, but it's just you make it sound so insidious sometimes. And like I think at one point you said you feel like it was about the money. And like I think you're approaching the idea of this iconic figure in television writing coming back to this show with a very like negative attitude from the start. And that's what my concern is. I do think that he is coming back to help course correct the show. And I'm not saying he's not, but you're kind of like, look how bad it is. And it's like, why can't we just celebrate that he's coming back? Why does everything have to be doom and gloom?
It's not necessarily doom and gloom because he's bringing it back, but he's putting it in a better position than it was now. And I think if it were to keep going the way it is now, especially with the BBC losing its licensing fee, I think you're going to see a return back to the wilderness years. That's my opinion. People were even talking about it going back into the wilderness years, and it was almost thought of. It wasn't off the table. But now that he's come back, and your opinion, everybody's opinion, if it's a course correction, putting it back in a place, at least financially, which I think for the longest time, being classic Whovian, and Mike, you can speak for me, and Joe, you can speak up for this, has now a budget that it deserves.
Oh God! Compared
because
to the rubber costumes and such,
it did not. Yeah, it did not have when it was back in the series, even with the 96 return. It finally got the CGI, the stuff that could actually hold the stories. Because right now we had college year budgets, and they did their best. And
Chibnall's writing would not be passable without the budget to make it look good. Exactly. I completely agree on that. I'm not saying
Chibnall's writing's not even that's my opinion. And I think that's why RTD is back, because I think he came back with a vengeance and said, listen, I can take this show and I can make it better. I got now the money, the means. And I'm sorry, it's a business. It's lucrative. I'm not saying that in a negative way. I'm saying I think maybe this puts it in a better business position so that we're not going to see this in the wilderness years. If it's got the
if I may.
Yeah.
Okay, first off, he is now on top of the world. Russell Davies is. There's a reboot of the American version of Queer as Folk that's taking place not too far from where I live. Nice little hamlet called New Orleans. That's where it's being set. Hopefully it'll be shot there because we need a film industry there. And it's a sin. Swept the BAFTAs. I heard it did very well, at least we'll see what happens with the award shows. But he got the money. It's not so much RTD, it's RTD with money. But here's what really concerns me. Let's go back to that first year. Christopher Eccleston does 13 episodes, and then he just decides, I don't like the way things are being run. Now, maybe, when we did the other stuff with RTD, including The Second Coming, and the other projects he did in past, they got along, but maybe RTD did not have the strong grip, as it were, on the production aspect on the day-to-day for Doctor Who as he had worked with Eccleston in previous projects. So Eccleston decides to leave after the first year because of the way things are being run. He has mentioned it to an extent, but I think the other shoe dropped when the accusations were made after Noel Clarke had won the BAFTA, and the accusations came about. And then he had his grand sense of whataboutism in regards to John Barrowman, and did with the ladies in the dressing room And that was documented at Chicago TARDIS back in 2017. So the question here is, and this is nothing against RTD, okay? Granted, he's the most famous name in terms of the production aspect of the series, but at the same time, people are going to look back at this particular first season and they're going to say, okay, he wasn't able to keep it together. He lost his main actor, but now he's coming back. Granted, RTD, but with money. But at the same time, no one has ever asked about the matter of if there was any level of toxicity within the production team on that first year. And I trust that toxicity was nowhere near, say, what had been going on in Los Angeles with Ellen DeGeneres and her talk show. But at the same time, it also kind of gives one pause to wonder if now that he has this RTD money, has he learned from his mistake in between the show in 2010 and coming back here? And so it's just so much to unpack. And I just asked this because I don't think anybody else really asked it.
Joey, I'm gonna put a full stop to that. Nothing. That seems to be another show, and we're just reviewing Eve. And I want to get back to the chats. And I know we still got Mike. A lot of weird stuff. Yeah, it's okay.
We haven't even touched on the episode really.
Yeah, I know. So, Mike, you rated it.
No.
Did I already do you?
No,
you didn't do your review. You gave your rating. It was an 8.
Okay.
Me? I was a 7.
You was a 7. He was a lower half. So, and
why did I go first?
Doesn't matter to me. I'm just here for the ride.
Mike had 7, and Joey had 8. So, Mike, yes. Why did you rate it a 7?
I rated it a 7 because we have seen this storyline type, multiple times, both on Doctor Who, and I like how somebody in the chat actually mentioned Red Dwarf because they did it there too, and on multiple other shows. But it was done very, very well for a Chibnall show, and I enjoyed it. I don't understand what his fascination with New Year's and Daleks is. This one didn't even tie in. This was supposed to be, he even said, this is the third part of a trilogy, and it didn't have anything to do with anything.
If Chibnall tells me that a building's on fire, I'm gonna have to go outside and take a look because that's how much it shows.
Exactly. Well,
I'm sorry, Chibnall is just. I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this aloud. I don't feel like I'm enjoying Series 13 and the final 3 episodes. I feel like I'm going through them just so I can get to RTD and go, okay, what do you got there? I'm just going to read chats real fast. If you want to continue, Mike, give me one moment there. The BBC model is falling apart, especially after sabotaging their biggest asset. Davies is not the one to save it. Problem is outside his expertise. Not one reboot story equals Robert Holmes. Adrian says the Whittaker Chibnall era have been decisive, uniquely so. However, do you have the Who shop in London? I'm not exactly sure what that is.
They were talking about Doctor Who.
Great place.
Yes, it is a great shop.
Yeah,
gotcha.
You do.
Hey Kevin, it's 2 of my favorite WHOvians. Hey Christian and Mike, happy new there, Kevin. And check out, I'm going to be on his show.
Hey,
That's
Kevin.
Another person that we were talking about out there. David, I have a little 40 years experience in production and licensing with some major studios. In my opinion, the discussion is missing with the most fundamental points of the BBC is mishandling alarmingly. I got to go further on this, and this is for another show. I'm just making the statement. Does Jodie even sell? And I'm only saying this in regards to this. In my sci-fi store, which was close to me, when it got to Tennant and Capaldi and Matt Smith, there was actually a row of Doctor Who. There were Sonics, there was everything. I mean, TARDIS cookie jar, everything out there. The last time I went out there, that shelf was not only completely bare. I had to ask the front desk, where's all the Doctor Who? And he pointed one item in the corner. It was on sale, and it was David Tennant in Time Lord Victorious. That was it.
Wow.
Now, I don't. Yeah. Now, I mean, that's a big change. Now, where is the problem? I have no idea. Some people will say Jodie doesn't sell. Some people says the show's gone off the rails and nobody's really watching anymore. There's so many opinions to that, but the proof is the merchandise is where they get their money. The merchandise helps it. To me, everybody can say things about the ratings and such because everybody has their own differences. People who are opposed to, what's going on will do the overnights. People who are supportive will go out and say, okay, well, this is the final run and this is the total run of numbers. I go by what's selling because that's tangible stuff you're going to put in your home and play with, like when we were growing up with VHS tapes, like we were growing up with, everything. To me, that's where the marketing is. When Brian was talking about, how they lost the licensing for the Funko Pops, his bring-in was, well, of course, she was in the game that they just put out there. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not Funko Pops. That's a game. We're the Funko Pops. So it really, but the problem is somebody's doing something very wrong somewhere in the behind the scenes, and it's costing Doctor Who big time. That's not that's undisputable. That's something is going wrong behind that. So we can all
they're
agree
mismanaging the brand.
Right. So somewhere along the way, something's going on out there. Carl says Donna and I had a good discussion.
Not just mismanagement.
Go ahead, real quick. I got a lot of chats to run through. Sorry.
Well, no, not too much. Not so much mismanagement, but there are also other items on the buffet. And sometimes, Star Trek is popular. Sometimes Star Wars is popular. Sometimes Doctor Who is popular. But they all cannot be insanely popular at the same time.
That's a good point. But to have no shelf, absolutely nothing.
And Star Wars was at a peak recently, thanks to Baby Yoda.
Right.
Yeah. I was actually shocked because for the holiday, I got an Oculus Rift, and there is a Doctor Who game up there. And it ties into Time Lord Victorious.
Nice.
And it's pretty interesting. I haven't played it yet, but I just purchased it last night. So I'm going to be having fun to see how it ties in. But I've been always disappointed with most Doctor Who video games and such. But that's a whole different story for another time. That's a different. But should we get back into the show?
Yes, absolutely.
Eve.
Yeah.
And
gotcha. I'm just running through the chats real fast down, and I had a good discussion at lunch. Doctor Who is at its best when it's a buddy movie, like with Donna Noble, and I agree wholeheartedly with that. That is 100%. When it's a buddy, when the companions are actually companions and not love interests, and they support the Doctor, when they support each other, I think it's at its pinnacle. I've never, I don't mind the love interest, but I think it's run its course. I think we need to go back to companions who okay, what is it, Doctor? What is it, Doctor? What is it, Doctor? And when the Doctor goes off the rails, then the companion's there to put him or her right back into place out there.
I don't want with Doctor Who, will they or won't they? That's not what it's
There
about.
You go. That's a very good, yes. Will they or won't they? It should be just who's the actor, who's the companion.
No more.
Is it somebody who spars with? Is it somebody who spars off with the Doctor? Well, that's the case out there. But yeah, let's go back to the show. I'm going to put my opinion probably into the after party. Let's go 90 minutes on that one because I got one more commercial to run, and then Joe, we're going to go hit with you. Mike, did you want to wrap up anything? I apologize. I've been cutting you short out there, but I want to make sure.
I have a whole other podcast to talk about.
That's true.
Okay.
If you want to see what Mike
I'm not worried
and I
about
want
it.
to talk about, yeah, we'll go more into Mike's podcast over at the ESO Network. Please subscribe and join up there. Please also subscribe over at Husbands Talking More or Less. And Joey, I'm going to get to you. Let me run the final commercial break. When we return, I'm going to go with all your chats, and then my opinion will probably go right into the after party. So please stand by. Here we go.
You have more options than ever before when choosing a film, a television or internet series, a book to curl up with, or even a radio show or podcast. Get to know the people who are creating for you. The Hangin' With Web Show, hosted by award-winning author and journalist G.W. Pomacher, is the internet's fastest-growing web talk show series. The Hangin' With Web Show features professional, yet casual, in-depth interviews with creative arts and entertainment pros. Meet the people behind a digital revolution in creating more quality content than ever before in the history of media. Find the Hangin' With Web Show on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, or simply go to www.hanginwithshow.com. That's www.hanginwithshow.com. GINwithshow.com.
The massive audio Doctor Who Bad Wolf Bluetooth TARDIS speaker. That's all I gotta say, one word. Wow. It looks like it just jumped right off the screen. Here it is in all its Bad Wolf glory. Right here is the on-off switch and the up and down volume. Right here's the speaker. The TARDIS stands about 6 inches from the bottom of the TARDIS all the way up to the top where the light is. Look at the detail. Wow.
And Joe, you got the last 5 minutes on this one since you rated the highest number, which was 8. Tell us what you thought about Eve. Tell us what didn't work for you to rate it just a little bit 2 points down. And take it away, brother. And then I'm going to finalize with the chats.
Well, yes. Well, what I really most appreciated about the story was that it wasn't unlike Flux, which pretty much had a story arc. In this case, it was just an independent, owned by itself. It was very, at least in my opinion, but also the plot devices were very. It was a surprisingly done piece. I mean, what can you do with the Dalek when it's pretty much a one-trick pony? So, at least in my opinion, by watching, by seeing this, what concerns me more than anything else is that there was, if you look at the casting, you had Dalek Operator 1, Dalek Operator 2, an additional Dalek. What, he can't like rise up to the post of Dalek Operator 3?
No,
I can't seem to. But no, it was a nice New Year's night romp where you just didn't have to think, you just had to and just be entertained, and that's all we needed, especially with the year we've had. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was quite nice. Now, here's the interesting thing. BBC America, I think I saw like the supersized version of it, where they had an extended it wasn't extended. It was a sneak preview of the new series. I think that was set in Australia. I forgot the name of it. It was set in a place called Opal City. Has anybody seen this yet?
I saw the vampire thing after because we were watching it, and it was really horrible. The BBC America thing.
Yeah.
It was not.
Yeah.
It wasn't very cohesive, and it was like you had kids watching Doctor Who and then going right into this story where right in the very first scene they rip out somebody's heart. It's just like, and show it, and it's just like, oh, you really want to do this with a family audience? It's just like,
Well, nowadays when it comes to entertainment, it's not. It's like they're calling it. Was it groundbreaking? And I'm just like, no, it's more nauseating.
Well, exactly, because
it's more shocking. It's a radio shock jock equivalent of entertainment.
Exactly.
I'm just like, no, you're not doing anything new. You're making it more gorier.
But they had the final scene of the Doctor Who episode with the couple driving off and the TARDIS flying through the sky, and then you hear the start of the Doctor Who theme for them to play the next time. But instead they went right into this new show, and it was like, what? And like Judy was like, my wife was like going, are they going to show the Doctor Who trailer? Is this just like 5 minutes or something? And there was the full episode.
Oh, you're talking about Fire or something. I forgot.
Yeah,
it was Fire.
Exactly. Whatever it is.
It's supposed to be like, when you only have like 30 seconds to grab somebody's attention, you try to throw as much fluff out there. And it's, I'm going to explain this when I do my review in just a few minutes down there. But Joe, let me get back to you. Did you have any final thoughts while we got to wrap it up in a few minutes for the audio? We'll continue this discussion. We're going to go through your chats. There are a lot of them out there, and I apologize. But stay with us. We're going to run probably another 30 minutes if you gentlemen can stay with me. We'll go through the chats. We'll finalize up. And there's some stuff I really wanted to get to if we have time.
For me, in this case, we all have to realize that the Doctor might look like a human being, but he's an alien from another planet. And that's what says to the character, because most times we're a Doctor. I mean, we can easily do these magnificent things that we've been trained to do, but yet we can't sit in a room and talk about our feelings with somebody else. And if you saw that last scene, you'll understand what I'm talking about. And in terms of the shipping aspect of things, it's not so much of the doctor, no matter what the doctor is, male or female. It's the matter of afraid of being hurt again, or telling somebody, look, you may think you like me, but you don't.
You don't know.
Yeah. I think
Exactly.
we should. The romanticism needs to end. Yeah.
It's really hard to determine because now after River Song and everything else, and the doctor not getting, Dan going, Yaz really likes you, and she just blows it off.
Oh, she does.
But it's to me is and I think the social media when they were pushing the shipping, that's like, guys, cut it out. This is not DeviantArt. This is Doctor Who, and I've seen enough DeviantArt in there to go, whoa, okay. I wasn't even picturing that, but thank you. And I don't just mean Yaz in 13. I mean way back. So I just like, okay, no. This has got to be a kids show. There's got to be a limitation, and to keep pushing that there's some kind of romance for over and over for the for the 10th companion. At some point, I'm just going like, can we just get back to some of the origin when it comes to the companions, that they are supposed to be, first of all and foremost, our eyes to the Doctor, our interpretation of the Doctor, and second, somebody who is an actor, because for me, Jenna and Matt Smith work together so well, but then you put Jenna with Capaldi, and to me, it didn't work out too well, and it didn't help that for me was that Moffat just continued down the line that he did, and it ended up me hating Clara, because they put Clara in the situations that I was like, no, what the heck are we doing now? When Danny Pink dies, and Clara goes right back into the TARDIS, I'm like, you know what? Everything that I had respect for you is gone. Not Jenna.
Oh, exactly.
It had nothing to do with it. It's because you chose this lifestyle. Your boyfriend, who you love, died. The one, you threw all those TARDIS keys into the molten lava until, to save Danny Pink, and then you go running right back into the arms of.
Because she was suicidal.
But it was like
she was many things.
Wanted to die.
I meant to.
But that's a whole other episode.
That's a whole other episode.
Another episode.
See,
Christian, you're coming up with all these ideas for new episodes right here.
I have tons of new episodes. First of all, I just want to end this. I just want to say this too. I know I'm probably going to get heat for this. Listen, Chibnall, even if you couldn't write a Christmas episode, if the Lifetime Network can put out 3 to 4 movies a year, you could have put out one episode for Christmas. It's not Christmas for me, and I know a lot of Whovians out there, unless there's a Doctor Who Christmas episode. You can add the New Year's Eve episode, that's fine, or the New Year's Day episode, but to just remove it completely and not even address it and tell me, and in some cases people are, well, we're creatively empty, and I said, well, there's a bunch of Lifetime people who could probably pull over to the screen, and just like, to me, that was a tradition that,
started in 2005.
Exactly, and it could have just kept going, and I think people love that we had a Christmas episode, and some of them were some of them were really out of the park, and some of them didn't, died at the shortstop. But I like that we had that option. I love that we had that option out there. All right, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. For those of you staying around, I'm going to give my assessment. We're going to get to the chats, and I know, Mike, you've only got a half hour, so I'm going to be quick about it. When we return, we're going to continue on. For those of you listening to our audio podcast, thank you so much for joining us. And if you want to hear more about this, you can go over to the YouTube channel and subscribe, as you see down on the screen scrolling. Or if I get a chance and I get on this Tuesday for this Friday, I'll be on Mike's podcast, the ESO Network, and I'll be definitely telling you more about it as well out there. Everybody, please stay safe out there. Happy New Year. We wish you the best of the new coming year. All of our love, all of our hopes, and please continue to become part of the legend. Stand by. Gentlemen, I'm going to give you the option. If you want, you can continue. If anybody wants to add more, but I got a lot of chats too, and I do want to get through them real fast out there. So.
Nothing yet.
Nothing yet? Okay,
nope,
let me go ahead
good.
through the chat then. Carl, David, above is right. BBC is like American PBS, and they don't have the experience with marketing. Yeah. That is true. I'm winding up building up my own playset, Ramona. It is the action figures that are hard to get. Scalpers who buy up all the action figures on launch ruin it for the rest of us. So apply taxes, dealer room fees, and all that. And I noticed also something too, Mike. There are no Funko Pops, period. And I am really regretting
there
this
are.
decision.
Hold on. All up there is the whole top is Doctor Who figures.
No. I mean, when I was going to the conventions, MegaCon,
You mean like right
Empire,
now?
Oh, like right now.
Zero. And there were 3
Well, a lot of
vendors.
stuff is shipping delays and stuff too.
But,
Don't forget that.
This was way before that. This was throughout 2021. This was way before the shipping delays. There was one Funko Pop I regretted because I just didn't have the money on me. It was Sarah Jane Smith. That was it.
Right.
And it was her what I call candy striper outfit.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's interesting because the local Funko Pop place in right outside of Atlanta has 2 different Doctor Who figures in their cases. None on the walls or anything, but in their cases they do. They have Capaldi in the spacesuit, and that's like going for $250.
Oh.
And then they have Jodie, the very first Jodie one that came out, which was the San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, and that was her in basically her jacket, because they only came out with 3 of her. They came out with her in the jacket for San Diego. They came out with her just without the jacket, which was the general release, and then they had her with the goggles on, from the first episode that she was in.
Right.
And
but is that a brick and mortar?
Yeah, there's brick and mortar.
Yeah, I'm talking about ones that are investing, going to conventions and having to pick and choose because they can't let it just sit on the shelf, for all time until it gets sold. These are the ones that have to decide. I'm just like 3 vendors, none of them. And that wasn't the case in 2020 and the years prior. Is that a fault of the BBC? Can Jodie sell? I have no idea, but none of it was Jodie. All of the stuff that I saw going back into previous years was from Capaldi backwards. I'm not saying that she, I don't have any proof that she doesn't sell, but I'm going by where is she?
Well, also if you put the Kablam Man, or you put Tim Shaw, or you do the little metal eating monster Doctor Who Funko Pops, which is what they did, who would want to buy those?
No.
If I wanted it, I would have wanted something like the Cyber Gallifreyans, the New Master, or stuff like that. I thought would have been big hitters, and that's what I would have wanted to see Funko wise. Or even I would have loved to seen a Yaz. I would have loved to seen a Graham, a Ryan, a Dan. Or hello. Doesn't everyone, wouldn't you want a Renegade Doctor, or the Ruth Doctor?
Yeah, Joe. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would love to see that. So, that's where
they're putting out crap. Yeah. Tim Shaw, I meant the first series of Jodie's run as far as villains was concerned. And I say this to my dying day, it was the worst decision Chibnall made to go, okay, I'm going to make up some new monsters. I'm not going to go back to classic. I'm like, you should have hit some classics. You should have thrown in a few of them just to see what's going on today with them. Because the crap that you brought, the Kerblam bad guy or the Kerblam bad guy, Crosco, all these bad guys, Robertson, I'm not going to buy, I'm not invested in these villains because I don't give 2 rats. Yeah, I might get the New Master. That's it. It's not like the rest of the bad guys that we saw. I'm like, like somebody said, Christian, you can have a Tim Shaw. I'm like, I'll only take it. I wouldn't buy it.
I respect the idea, but it was the wrong time to try and do that on so many levels.
I think, well, like Webb said, most of it, you can mix it up. Daleks with Weeping Angels, Cybermen with the Ood.
And there should be more of that too.
Right. It should 100%. Be a mix.
And I think that's why Flux worked so much better than some of his previous seasons.
Yes.
Well,
people love that synergy right now.
Yeah.
Well, the only thing is I love Flux 4, and it was because it wasn't written by Chris Chibnall by himself. That was the only episode I truly, truly liked. And the 5th episode I only liked because they brought back Jericho, and I was happy with Jericho. And just like, wait a minute, why did you do what you did with Jericho? I think that was a shame on Kevin McNally. Maybe he only had like a 3-episode contract, but that was a brilliant character. And I know what you were saying earlier, Kevo. It's just I don't think it's the token white guy. I think it's because Graham and Dan. I meant Graham and Dan were adding the comic relief to it. We're bringing it back home. They brought it more heart. That's what those characters were there for. For me, it should have. If we had started from ground zero, it should have been either one companion. It could have been a classic companion. Why not Ace, or something that we could feel comfortable that we could have Jodie in there. To add more companions, drowned out what Jodie could have brought to the table. And then we were back to that thing with the Fifth Doctor is we're going to have to put Mark Strickland into a jail cell because we don't know what to do with these other characters. I think the focus should have been one companion, with the Doctor, and then added on later when we felt more comfortable. So you could have Yaz at the beginning, and then like episode 5 and 6, after people felt comfortable what was going on and had more attention to the Doctor, then you could have brought in more characters when you had writers
like series 1,
like series
exactly
1
of the revival.
Exactly.
Right. Exactly. Because
people had to get used to Christopher Eccleston because he was a totally new Doctor.
Exactly.
Nobody was ready for it.
Jodie was a brand new, a completely new type of Doctor too. It was the first female Doctor, and we should have given her room to grow. As we say on our show, is Jodie has knocked it out of the ballpark the whole time. She has put her whole in it, and she became her. I think she really came into her own during Flux, but at the same time, I think they threw too many companions at her at first because they weren't sure how she was going to be. And that was part of the problem with it.
I want to be clear on something, though. I'm not just talking about Dan and Graham when I say Chibnall was a token older white guy. I mean, I'm going as far back as his stuff when he wasn't showrunner. Like, if you look at his Silurian two-parter, there's that grandpa. He's the one who introduced Rory's dad as a character and was the one who wrote him repeatedly. Like, it's just, even 42, I think there is an older, not quite grandfather, but not quite not grandfather character. And I don't know why he needs that in his writing, that he wrote out Graham and Ryan, but introduced a new, basically young, hot version of Graham.
To me, even with even with Rory's dad, comic relief. It brings it back to heart because he's good at writing soap operas. He's horrible at writing sci-fi
arcs,
and it really shows. In fact, if you watch, I did see some of the extended version. I did see some of the extended version, and one of the things that they were touting out is that it was a love story wrapped in a sci-fi shell. I said, no, it's got to be sci-fi, and you can throw the romance somewhere in there, but it becomes too much of a focus. In the same way that it was in Praxis, when you had those two gentlemen where the story was kind of focusing, but you would have run, and then you would focus on them. As far as I understood what he was trying to do, but again, it was a soap opera wrapped in sci-fi. It's got to be the reverse. It's got to be sci-fi. And if you want to put in a love story and make it work and push the direction and the characters support what's going on, I got it. And it does happen in the past. It's happened in the past. I mean, Amy and Rory are a testament to that. But if you make them way too much of the focus and not focus more onto the sci-fi, which one of the most tear-jerking moments I think in the series is when they break up, and Amy has to tell Rory, the reason why I'm leaving is I can't have kids. You want kids. So instead of me telling you, to keep you going, I'm telling you need to go. And there was that focus, but it wasn't the driving force. It wasn't continually going back to that over and over and over again. It was part of it, and I think it drove the story because now it started to make sense of why these two were fighting.
Well, if you'd like me to bring it, like me to bring it back around to Eve of the Daleks, how do you feel about Nick and Sarah, I believe it was, this story?
Well,
and how do you feel in terms of the romance being handled in that story based on, like, do you think it was handled better than Chibnall normally does? Do you think it was too much of a focus?
All right. Well, at that point now, I might as well give my review. I gave it a 5. And I'm giving this 5 knowing that I might be, I don't want to say biased to it because it has a lot of competition to it. I know this was a COVID episode. I know this was, they use a lot less people. However, Heaven Sent could have been a COVID episode. And it is probably one of my top 10 favorite episodes. And it's all it is Capaldi being chased around by whatever this creature is, locked in a confession dial. Because it had a wonderful script. It had Peter Capaldi by himself, which that to me was awesome. It proved to me that he could do a show by himself and still make it worth it. And it could have been shot in COVID time had COVID hit. He could have been completely by himself, and he did it. The love story kind of reflected. You okay?
Wow.
For me, the love story.
He's all choked up.
Yes, he is. The love story kind of reflected what was going on in Praxis, which was a focus too much. And to me, I was getting to the point where I was feeling sorry for Nick. I was like, Nick, I can understand why you like her, but I don't understand why she's liking you. Because all she's doing is yelling at you and making you feel bad, and at one point pushing him over to the edge where he kills himself. Because she kind of throw it away, and basically he did. He went outside.
She was nuts.
She was nuts. So I'm like, how?
She was fun, but she was nuts.
She was fun, but I didn't see a love story. I saw somebody who is in it because they were pushed into it. And I wanted to address everybody real fast. I just want to address it. This is not the first time we went through a time loop. One of my favorites is Megloss, the time loop that were there. And even though it was fun and campy, it was one of the ones that was addressed. Also, I believe, and Mike, if you know of another episode, let me know. The Clause of Access, which I don't think we actually get to see the time. We actually see a circle, which is the time loop, but we don't actually see him addressed in the time loop. He's stuck, and then he finally gets the TARDIS out away from the alien out there. And of course, when we discussed Heaven Sent Hellbent, what was he stuck in there for 4.5 billion years out there?
Exactly.
So, but there were a couple things that we hit upon where, Clara and the Doctor, that's the kind, the boyfriend girlfriend relationship where he had to tell her, I'm not your boyfriend. I understood the snowman Clara, why she wanted to get in the TARDIS. I understood why, and even though there was kind of a flirtation, it was like a fun flirtation, and it didn't get anywhere. It was just kind of a push. But she just felt like she kept running out of the TARDIS. Then she gets a boyfriend who ends up dead. I'm just like, okay, just get to a point where they're complimenting each other. And let me just run through the chats real fast because I feel so bad that we've left them out there. Joe Grant, the Third Doctor, seemed to have a bit of a romance. The man she left him for at the end of the Green Death reminded her of the life. I do feel that it was, I think people wanted it to, but I think the Third Doctor kind of just like, he didn't want her to leave because I think he loved her company, and she was his opposite. That kind of pushed back out there. Even Colin Baker, when he behind the scenes, he was talking about Perry and the Sixth Doctor, where they started off, they were written like angry husband and wife, and that's why people didn't get along with them too well. And then Trial of the Time Lord finally hit, and you could start seeing the relationship kind of soften to where they were now complimenting each other. But he used the word soulmate. And I'm like, I don't know about that, but I'm just like, but I can see where you compliment. A Davros spinoff may be as meaty as Game of Thrones. I don't know. I've seen the 6th season. I've seen the 8th season of Game of Thrones, and I wasn't too impressed. If the best show of the year was Squid Games, what was done on low budget, and Cobra Kai has decent story with History of Karate Kid, why can't the Doctor do a low budget and good storyline? This is what makes for good Doctor Who, and that is correct. I mean, there is some Doctor Who that's been written that had no budget. Chris Chatfield, Ramona, better still if the scalpers had ethics and sold them at a reasonable price, this wouldn't be an issue. Is it okay for making believe for going back to the toy stuff? Behrman paid for his crimes and apologized.
Oh, right, that.
That's another episode.
That was so much.
It's. I'm only going to say this. I don't blame John. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't think it's good news that the BBC is going to battle for productions and debuts rather than another wilderness period. I hope he can steer it away from the diverse elements that seems to be splitting fandom and win back some of the Doctor Who's goodwills. And yeah, during Chibnall's run, depending upon who you are, it does feel like there's like this seam that kind of splits the fandom, and it almost splits it between classic and new, or people who just. I think it's just the approach, and I think it's also the social media, because people are, when people are going like, I just don't care for a female doctor, they get antagonized, and I've seen it.
Haters are going to hate, though. That's the thing, though, Christian.
It may not necessarily be haters. It's just like, I don't want this.
Right.
That's not hating.
But
That's
you're
just,
also going to have people who won't come back to Doctor Who until Rose and Tennant are back.
Yeah,
that's the
I
truth.
totally get it. You're going to have people on all sides of the fandom. You're not going to appease everybody. If a theme park puts out a new attraction, some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. There's nothing you can do. There's no cohesive thing that's probably going to make people happy, as we can see in geekdom now. The thing is, I don't like it when they antagonize the fans, or at least to me, that's counterbullying. If you're going to go after somebody and say, okay, well, I don't like Jodie Whittaker, or I'm not, I don't want a female doctor. If you go out there and start antagonizing them, they're definitely not going to come back, or at least on your standards. When I go to cons and people say, I'm not hip on the first female doctor, I tell them, okay, I'll see you in 3 to 4 years. If that's your case, because I don't judge fandom by, on that scale. That's just not me. I don't want to do that. I don't want to unrule out somebody because they're uncomfortable, or doctors always been this way. Why not? That's the way they are. That doesn't make any less of a fandom. It just means they don't like Jodie, or they just don't appreciate what's going on in the situation, and they just don't want to be a part of it.
And that's what's great about Doctor Who, is it always evolves. It always changes. And, if you don't like who the Doctor is currently, just hold on for like 3 or 4 years. It's going to be somebody else. And that's what's great about the show.
Right. But go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just worry that specifically, I don't want a female doctor is not too many steps from I don't want a black doctor. And I don't know why
or whatever.
Those are okay to say.
See, now we're going into projection. Unless we can.
Why is it so different? Is what I am asking. What makes it so different?
I completely agree with that.
It could be because that's just what they're used to. It's when
Why is that?
I mean, then I can go into any realm and throw the Asian card out there. Why isn't it an Asian doctor? Why isn't it?
I know. Why isn't it?
Why isn't it an Asian Superman? That's the way they don't want it. Well, I'm not.
I'm thrilled we got a Indian descendant for the Master.
That's fine.
Yeah,
and it's awesome. But
he looks like he's taking too much sugar pills, but that's fine. I mean, that's just the way he is out there.
Exactly. But I think it's awesome that they did that. I would be fine with any race or gender for the Doctor. I don't care. It's the Doctor. Yeah.
But that's you. But I'm not calling out and going like, okay, you know what? The last person of East Asian descent was in the TARDIS 25 years ago. And he died and came back to life, and we never seen anything else again. I mean, yeah.
You should bring that up. Why aren't you? You should bring it up.
Why?
Why don't you?
It's not. First of all, I'm not in the production, and what are they going to do?
You bring up a lot of stuff about production, though. So why is this different? And why are you telling people not to talk about this stuff?
I'm not saying not to talk about this stuff. You want to talk about it, but is it going? First of all, when it comes to things of the geekdom, is it helping the storyline? Is it helping the character? Is it moving things along? And if it's just because we need something different, I don't know if I'm on board with it as of yet. You got to tell me why. Is Jodie Whittaker a good actress? The reason why I was on board with a first female Doctor is because of the first female Master. Michelle Gomez owned that role. She took it, ran with it, and made it incredible. Yet, did people leave because of it? Yes. Not many. And in fact, some people came on board because of Michelle. So I'm like, okay, can we have something similar happen to the Doctor if we're going to go female? And when they said Jodie Whittaker, I was like, okay, cool. Because Chris Chibnall worked with her on Broadchurch, not too thrilled about, the Chris Chibnall, because I've seen some of the stuff he wrote. But this was the guy who took on John Nathan Turner and Pip and Jane Baker on their own platform. Right on stage. So I thought maybe he had more caring for what was going on. he had a lot of heart to it. You know, it could have been better, quote unquote. But now I'm wondering what would happen if young Chris Chibnall met his future Chris Chibnall. What would he tell himself? That was better? That was worse? I just don't feel that doing something for the sake of just doing, what was it, that line from Star Trek? Just because we can do a thing doesn't mean we have to do that thing. If it moves something, if it makes something better, and I'm not, if anybody came around and said Christian is the first Asian Doctor Who podcast, I would go completely ape, because that's not how I want to be remembered. I want to be remembered that I hosted a podcast called The Legend of the Traveling Tardis, and that piece of metal is the most important thing in this project, just like Mickey Mouse is for Disney. I don't want to be recognized by my culture. I want to be recognized of who I am, the individual, and what made me. I just happen to have Filipino in me, and that's fine. But I'm not going to make it bigger than what it is. And I just happen to be. Now, if you're going to hire somebody else because of what I look like, that's a different story. There's a difference between what was being done in the 1970s with the Talons of Wang Chiang, and if you did it today and you didn't have an Asian guy, yes, I would definitely be going, what the heck? Who's this white guy playing? Unless there's a reason. But I'm not saying anything any less. I'm just saying.
How do you feel about the upcoming special and the potential of more Asian representation as one of Jodie's final specials?
I haven't seen
it.
Awesome. Is this with the new trailer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I have not seen the new trailer. I apologize. I actually was going to play
it,
and I have not seen it yet.
It's pretty amazing. It's amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing.
I'm fine with that. They've actually had Asian influence, but the girl who played Chanto was it, and then they brought her back to do another episode in that tent from Turn Left. Now, I mean, I could be the forerunner, but it's like, well, no, I don't want me to be an influence. If you're going to hire an Asian person. Why not? Go for it. It's your choice. It is your deal. However, if there is a bunch of Asians going on and it's all white guys like back in the 70s, yeah, I'm going to have I'm going to say something just like, really? There's a bunch of Asians who want to go to work out there. And I'm going to say this when it comes to entertainment and sports. How much representation do we really have? True. Honestly.
Yeah.
0. We're always shunned. Sorry. That's the truth. But I don't want it being the determinator. I want it to be because I run a good show, because I have great guests who come on and talk and are open with it. The whole reason of this show is being that I wanted to have everybody. Doesn't matter where they came from. They call themselves fans. Let's bring it. And you want to chat and discuss? Let's talk about it. Let's do it. You're my friends. Let's go for it. I could be another podcast that, spouts out what I don't like, and they're making, they've got hundreds of thousands of fans. But I think this is the podcast where it draws the line that says, listen, everybody's a fan. Everybody's a geek. If you call yourself a WHOvian, by all means, come on in. Let's talk it out. And at the end of the day, unlike other places where their creators are going nuts over each other, we should be able to go to the local convention bar and have a drink and buy each other a drink and say, hey, you know what?
Good show. Yeah.
But we had a good show.
Exactly.
That's where the geekdom should be.
It's all about respect and having a good time, but not taking it too far.
Exactly. If we don't respect, we reject. Everybody should be into the point. I don't care where you come from. I don't care who you are, what you're packing between your legs. You are a person and you have a say. And let's talk it out. We're not going to agree with each other. That's what's so cool about the human race. We have differences. We have different experiences. But I think we should level the playing field out and talk it over. Because what was that movie? Once the discussion starts, that's when the war starts. I'm sorry, when the discussion stops, that's when the war starts. And that's
when the discussion stops and everyone walks away mad. Yeah.
Gotcha.
That's how many a divorce has happened.
Thank you so much. Yeah, exactly. Mike, thank you so much. Everybody check out the ESO Network. I'm going to run through chat. So, Mike, if you need to jump out, thank you so much for joining us. And
thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Mike.
Exactly. And I'll see you guys soon.
Let me just go ahead and run through the chats. Can you stay a little bit longer, Kevin?
Yeah, sure.
Excellent. Having money doesn't make a good show. Yes, very yes. What was it? My friend said there's almost so much money you can put into a Ford Pinto before it explodes. So yes, money doesn't necessarily make a good show. It's a good story. Carl Davies' background is in effect soap opera, and he does put an aspect in a Doctor Who where it hurts the adventure show aspect. He is not the one to save it. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens, David. I'm going to stick around. Let's see what happens. It's for this episode. At least this one had the Doctor and the companion solving the issue, not a Deus Ex Machina ending like.
Oh, I guess they did. Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt bad. I kind of felt iffy and felt bad because a lot of people in the flux, the two loving couple, which again now brings it back to a soap opera. It felt like there was so much writing on them. And I was just like, oh, well, they're just another, they were just another background thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like we focus so much, and I think that's what I was trying to relay on. We focus so much, but if it pans out to nothing, why were they there for in the first place? Just to be a device? Because it was, they had so much going on. Okay, what was this baby? What was this pregnancy? What's going on with it? And everybody's going, well, that's the Doctor. Well, that's the Doctor. And I was like, I don't know, that would be crazy. Then we're going out. Then we're offspring. Then we're jumping off the rails when it comes to the Cartmel master plan, which was, okay, we know the Doctor is a lot more than what the Doctor lays on, but we shouldn't be going into that crap down there. You could probably pronounce that better. I'm sorry, Kevin. What's that?
Probably Leicester.
Leicester. Town old toy shop have old and new Doctor Who stuff toys. There's something fundamentally male about the Doctor. He's like Sherlock Holmes, Quartermaster, etc. He does dad jokes. Maybe even female fans want a male Doctor, and I do know some that do. Like that's actually no females who wanted just to stay male. Yes, Jodie sells. I have an action figure watching for Jodie Barbie dolls. They're actually out there. I've seen them, but they're expensive. And I was looking on Amazon, Kevo. 11 Sonic, almost $200.
Wow.
Yeah, it was $30, way back when, but now I guess they're not making them anymore. So somebody, I guess, scooped them up and said, we're done here. Christian BBC took Whittaker off the covers of licensing. She is radioactive face of a bad show. That is the answer.
Saying it's negative crap like that I'm like, why are you even dragging that negativity into the conversation? Calling her radioactive? Like, what kind of language is that? How are you encouraging positive fandom by talking about the show like that?
Okay, so how would you encourage? Let me reverse that. How would you encourage David to come back from that? If David was sitting, I'm going to bring that comment back. If David were sitting in the audience, and my job when I was at conventions and still at, is to watch my favorite TV show. So I couldn't. I never felt right to antagonize anybody about what they believe in. It would always be come to the table. And if they didn't want to come to the table, then they don't come to the table. Now I'd ask them, why don't you want to come to the table? And if they addressed that, and I said, well, you know what? You're not happy with Jodie. I mean, you should have seen the stuff when I was growing up with Colin Baker. I mean, if you thought Jodie was getting ripped, and there was no social media at that time, and he was getting ripped left and right.
But there is something inherently more violent and dangerous when that language is being used against a woman, is a huge part of the conversation. Even people who use that kind of language and then as a defense say, well, equality, we should be able to talk about women that way. But you know what you're doing. We're not actually there yet. That violence against women is still an enormous problem in society. And, I had someone come to me a few weeks ago and say to me that they facetiously came up with a new nickname for J.K. Rowling and all of this, mess of everyone's mad at her. And he said the wicked B word of the West End. And I was like, we don't use that word against women. And he was like, what are you talking about? That's not that bad. It's 2022. And this is a very progressive friend of mine as well. And tried to feign not realizing that using bitch for a woman is inherently toxic and problematic. And a lot of people don't think about what their language is putting out there. And that's part of what gets some people even more upset, that they're being told they're just, making a mountain out of a molehill. And it's not. It's really not. There's no one should be allowed to say, you can't say Jodie is not a good doctor. That is opinion. That is subjective. That is based on her performance, based on the production quality, whatever you want to say about, her doctor in specific. Sure. But there are people saying she shouldn't be allowed to be the doctor. And a lot of these people are saying it for some pretty toxic reasons. And it does bring it back to what I asked earlier, that I wasn't going to continue to press, but why I am concerned about how close that is to the doctor can't be black or the doctor can't be Asian. I don't know why the doctor shouldn't be allowed to be Asian. I think one of the downfalls of this show is that it's not being more internationalized is part of it. The doctor is an alien not from this planet. Why isn't he or they more global so that we can have an Asian doctor? And why aren't we pushing this show to be more when it has the ability? Part of the problem is that it is just the same, London's in trouble again. Again? Why aren't we ever focusing on anything else in the galaxy, let alone on planet Earth? And I think if it was more internationalized, I feel that's all connected and it's a bigger picture thing. And I want more Asian representation and everything else. I thought Mary Seacole being a character in Flux was really cool. I was very surprised by that. It was a historical figure I don't know very much about because we didn't learn about that stuff as much growing up because we're American. They don't know as much about our history either. So, that's something I'd never seen on Doctor Who before. And I thought that was really cool.
Okay. I mean, when I was growing up, Christopher Reeves did not look like me. When I was growing up, Linda Carter didn't look like me. When I was growing up, Tom Baker didn't look like me. And that's fine. Because these were the right actors for the right person for the right time. And these were
and it was characters that were created as white. I totally agree. And that whereas the Doctor has the ability to change to look more like you. Superman doesn't change his face. That's, not part of his inherent story. And you can do different versions, but end of the day, the default Superman from the 1930s, he was a white guy. And there's no going back in time and changing that.
Okay. But I'm not out there going like they should look more like me. I would never do that. I don't think it makes it any better or worse. If the person can act, if the person can actually do the role. I have some issues with Jodie. She's not selling on me, but that has a lot to do with either the interpretation of how Jodie pulled the role out or the way definitely Chris Chibnall, that's definitely, I'm putting a lot of stake in that Chris Chibnall led the way with Jodie when he decided not to go to classic, which I think is a big mistake because everything about this show rides on this. When people come around and hit up on J.K. Rowling with things like that, and usually it's the current cast or people are kind of like, no. And I'm just like, there would be no Harry Potter without her. So either you're going to have to disavow Harry Potter altogether, or you're going to have to be inclusive about everything, even with people you don't agree with. And the good news is, instead of being violent or mean to her or being vitriol, why don't you talk to her? Find out what's wrong. See what's
people
going
have tried.
On. And if she doesn't change her mind, does that make her any less of a person?
She's saying other people aren't people, though. Like, it's just, you're describing a very slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
And especially knowing that the incoming showrunner is so deeply progressive, I don't think you should expect less of this. You should expect more. And I don't know how you're going to react to that. And I worry about that for you, I think.
As far as?
It's not going to change. And I don't know if you're going to continue to be upset with the show. And it's going to be until at least through 2025 that Russell T Davies is running Doctor Who. He just recently said that he wants to be at the helm at least through the 20th anniversary
Why would you
of
think
the
that would be a
revival.
disappointment if I liked him beforehand? Everything I liked beforehand. I mean, has he really changed? We don't know.
I mean, I do because I pay attention to him as an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, he had free range to do everything. He brought in the first, what was it? Alien who was omnisexual, which I'm still getting used to these terms and all of that. But I didn't care because John Barrowman was a goofy, lovable character who made Jack Harkness work. And there was no social media.
Historically, if you look into the history of the production of Doctor Who, he actually did not have complete free range.
Okay.
And at the time, queer people were not given that free range to represent themselves. The bits and pieces were actually some of the that we got on Doctor Who in the background were some of the most progressive any television was doing at the time. For like 2005 to 2009, yeah.
Let me run through the conversation because they're exploding.
Sure.
I noticed that there's a lot more USA merchandise for the 13th Doctor than there is in the UK, especially mugs, backpacks, etc. You gotta show me where that's at, because I'm doing Google searches, and yeah, there are some out there. Just like, are they selling? Are they doing any good? And some of them just like, why would you make that piece of merchandise? The Doctor Who role-playing game are hotly sought after. Ramona, someone dropped the ball on that one. That's got to be an old comment. Joey's Batman pick on his wall is that the one from the episode where the Penguin tries to become mayor of Gotham City? Probably. Unfortunately, we lost Joey, and I guess it's the Wi-Fi over there. He was a married man, and he put Jenna in her place. So did his wife. I don't know. Sometimes I look at Jenna, I was like, Clara, and it's like sometimes he put him in his place, and that was where I was a little bit. It got weird. That was a dream.
It still happened. It happened inside a dream, but she still did
that
it.
That was the whole point, Ramona.
Yeah,
he was trying to figure out what she was thinking.
Yeah, she still
pulled
did
it off. Yeah, so yeah, and even with all that betrayal, he goes, do you think anything like a thing like betrayal would change how I feel about you? And I'm like, whoa, that just that was probably one of the best written lines ever of Doctor Who, of that kind of relationship where he can be so forgiving. And even though his 10th persona said, no second chances, I'm that sort of man, I guess that bellowed out when he got to 12. Chibnall is a progressive radical who thinks Christmas is just so yesterday, sick snobbery stamped on everything he does. Doctor used a dream patch and routed Clara's dreams through the TARDIS to him. The bookstore Barnes & Noble has Funko Pops. Okay. I barely see those out there anymore. I like I don't know what that is. I'm sorry, Ramona. The Dead Planet. I must be, if I look at it, I probably know what it is. The love story would stick out like a splinter. Mike Jodie is the first female Doctor. She's first canon female Doctor. John and Lumley was the first. Then Annabelle Weir. Yeah. If you want to really go back, Annabelle Weir actually is the first female Doctor who doesn't get contributed as much. It was one of those not what ifs, but Exile was the first episode, and this was the first test of the female Doctor. However, it was kind of written unwell for the first female Doctor because she comes out as a drunk. Yeah, well, she's taken a different approach. I think she's the new third Doctor instead of John Pertwee. It was just kind of and she's actually getting penalized by her predecessor in a like I don't want to say a dream sequence, but her second incarnation's coming back to haunt her, for a better term, because she decided to run away and I'm not going to deal with this. So she took a different approach. And by the way, when it came to the explanation was when they changed gender, is if the Time Lord commits suicide, like outright commit suicide. And it's not even for I'm saving. Like if you and I were in a room and I throw myself in front of a bullet, that would be kind of a suicide. No, I mean suicide because I was protecting you in some space. So I'm giving my life up. It would be like, I'm just going to off myself so I can regenerate, so nobody can see who I am. Sophie, thanks for joining us. I appreciate it. You should. We'll probably review it. I kind of liked it at first, and then I heard it again. I was just like, oh, I don't know now. The Doctor's Wife was a perfect love story for the Doctor. The Doctor was a central figure in the romance. It's genuine and original and distant. Yeah, I would. But still, I meant they weren't snogging. There was a snog. There was a bite, and it was kind of the way. I'll give Neil Gaiman credit, because when you've been with that kind of like boys and their toys, for a better term, not saying it in a derogatory sense, but the Doctor has been with the TARDIS so long now, the TARDIS for one moment has a voice to say something back to the Doctor, and it was hello. I never got a chance to say hello. Agreed, and head end to keep the TARDIS in the temple of safety. It may be a choice between him and her, Mom Yeesh. Am I a good man? Which is the question that keeps running between 11 and 12. Then she goes, and I can't have the Doctor, then I can be the Doctor. Yeah, that's where it got really weird, when she started acting like him. Next episode is set in the Far East. Okay, cool. Where exactly? Or did they even specify? I haven't seen the trailer as of yet, but I was going to run.
I don't remember off the top of my head. Okay. I don't know if they said.
Just got to get over that. Time Lords, not humans, are switch hitters. David saying the Doctor has a white male too long is sexist and racist. No attacks. The woman I married is a beautiful bronze color, and she agrees that the Doctor is a white male in a British accent.
Beautiful bronze color. Goodness.
Did anyone complain about the Ruth Doctor other than the timeless children thing? Did anyone complain because of her looks? No, and Kevo still razzes me because I think Ruth Doctor is a better Doctor than Jodie, and that's my opinion. It's only the interpretation of the character, and there's a lot of people actually who said they would have rather Jo Martin be the Doctor. I just think she was a better interpretation. She, in the 10-15 minutes that she was on the air, provided a lot more on the character than I think Jodie Noel. And again, that's a Chibnall run. I think he ran. I don't think he wrote that episode, did he? Or is that one of those that he wrote?
I think co-wrote at least.
So,
but might have written.
She sends me shiver me timbers. Explains the Asian influence in the Sea Devil costumes. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm probably going to look at that one again. And hello, Sophie, Leah, Raven Dove, I hope I pronounced all that right. Nice one. Thank you for joining us there, Sophie. Don't forget, if you're seeing at the bottom of the screen, please subscribe to Legend of the Traveling Tardis. Amen to respect. And that's got to be all around. We got to have a meetup at the Pandorica, of course, when I ever get my butt out there and do the smart thing. Sit down and talk. Yes, sit down and talk. That was from the Zygon inversion. Yeah, once, and it was Kevo, it was the movie that Michael Keaton was in. He was starring as the CNN producer. This was about the first Iraqi war, and he's talking to the leader of the Iraqi generals right before the war actually takes place, and that was the discussion. It's like, once we stop talking, that's when the war begins, and I think that's the important part, is that Lester. Thank you, Christina Lester. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Oh,
here we would pronounce it Leicester. In America, that's how we would pronounce it.
Jodie's Doctor is a Build-A-Bear. Okay.
All right.
58 years of history is why. Okay.
Oh, garbage is right.
History. Hopefully, most have seen Romana regenerate to Romana 2. So she's different species. What if it had the Doctor regenerate to a Dalek? Then that would be the weirdest episode I've ever seen in my entire life. Although she did get to change into a weeping angel. Sorry, spoilers. That word means female dog in heat.
Oh, we're caught up to the B word.
Yeah. Have you watched any of the old history? It's one of the most diverse shows ever. There's
right, so let's continue that.
I went to see Beverly Hills Cop and I had no issues. I have Toberman of the Tomb of the Cybermen was a game changer. Why should the Doctor not be a woman? Look at Jodie to find why. Why not?
And it's language like that.
I saw Aliens and had no issues with Ripley. Jodie said, Jodie said to David Tennant, how do you change accents? She's an average actress. I'm really, gosh, I didn't know how far by. Sorry. I can relate to Axel Foley and Ripley because they are people. And they're people that we actually get entertained by. And the reason lots of competent actresses turn down Chibnall offers is because they read his scripts.
She was the first choice, but okay.
I will probably. David is good at accents. I watch some of his voiceovers while we're going to.
People care so much about accents. I can notice people talk weird everywhere, and everyone in the UK gets so caught up on accents.
You've got to admit the and I'm sorry, I can't remember their names. The dog aliens that look like Chewbacca and the Flux. That accent was a little bit deep. I mean, I was like, wow.
I mean, yeah, the alien characters, they always do way too much.
Oh, well, we're going to go into a fight there. Well, your assessment has been a remark equal to violence, and you know what?
And that's Jodie the response to me trying to say all the stuff I said.
Jodie Whittaker's diluted. She said years ago the men did everything and the women just stood there. Then admits she never watched Classic Who seriously. Which, if that's true, that would be one of my issue takes on Jodie, because at least Matt Smith, who never watched Doctor Who, watched the predecessor stuff. And that's why it leads to me that some of the criticism that Jodie has as far as her acting chops are concerned, she looks more and more like Matt Smith and David Tennant, which I hear a lot. So if that is the case on her decision, I think that was a poor decision. I think she should have looked back and seen what was going on, because, again, it has to be respected what came before, regardless. You wouldn't be here, Jodie, if it wasn't for all those guys who came before, and you're taking on the mantle. Then there needs to be some kind of lineage that works well. And a lot of it, I even said, one of the movies that I really, really can't take back watching was a movie called Attack the Block, and Jodie Whittaker was in it. And for me, I even said that if her interpretation of her character in that movie was translated to her doctor here, I think it would be a totally different story. Because the person who she played in the role, which I know is completely different, and the doctor are two different people. But it does kind of harken to me leaning towards Jo Martin as far as her being, not to say the better doctor, she is more dynamic. More dynamic, but more in line with what came before as far as representation from the classic series than what Jodie is.
She's very violent, though, isn't she? Was classic Doctor super violent? She had a gun. She's been very violent in all her appearances, I feel.
Have you watched Classic Who? Then I'd have to challenge you on that.
All I did was ask the question, bro. You could answer.
Yeah, I'm trying to answer in the best way I can. I want to give it some time.
She was very stern, and I think that is in line with everything I know about classic.
But
the violence is very extreme with her.
But then again, remember that gun, she knew right away. She had everything planned out. It would probably be leaning more toward the Seventh Doctor, who wasn't violent, but he knew the groundwork. He laid out every chess piece, and he was always 3 steps ahead of the game. Now, you can say that about every doctor, but remember, the doctor gives the person a choice, and she chose to fire the gun. And even the Ruth doctor's going like, no, you don't want to do that. Trust me, you don't want to do that. That harkens back to 9 and 10. I wouldn't say they were picking up guns, but they were laying the groundwork for.
And they did stuff, though. That's very inherent. Family of Blood, they very heavily focused on the way he got revenge on all those people, even though it wasn't super violent. They were vengeful. So I get where you're coming from with that.
Right. So I think I meant the Doctor in Classic Who was, if people were to address it, is kind of more of a kid growing up and kind of the Ninth Doctor becoming that kid going out to war and coming back with PTSD. Now, how do you handle that kid who thought the world was a great place, who went on tour to Germany and all those places?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden had to come to the realization, especially when it comes to the Eighth Doctor and the big finish, that, I'm not here to fight. I go no further. I'm done here. Captain Jack saw a female, said, ooh, hello. He saw a male, said, "Ooh, hello." He was an alien who said, "Ooh, hello," and that was it. It was not part of the story, just off the cuff remark. But but the Doctor would always say, "No, stop your flirting." And then, it was Jack would say hello at any point in a store. Garbage when Jodie get at a Hollywood offer. Nope, that would be a bad actress she's been. Can wait for Chibnall to go. RTD, we'll show him how it's done. Okay.
Say.
There's always an Alpha Centauri who was a unisex species. Yeah, it was. It was in Classic Who. There are hundreds of shows, hundreds of channels to show progressiveness, identity, politics in a range of shows. It doesn't need to be done in every show. You can't please every single race, sex, ability. We have programming in the UK called Loose Women, so why isn't that more diverse?
I don't know why.
Sorry I'm late. Hello, Sudoku. That's interesting, and stories, not damn wokeness. Okay. There's a lot of negative commentary today. Welcome, Dan. Hey, Dan. I'm almost out of popcorn watching all of this.
There's always
thank you, Romana Cavanista. Yes, thank you. Carvanista.
Carbonara.
Yeah. Accent with over 60% of the UK is UK and about 1/5 of the state, Texas. So accent is important. It is like rival between two cities like
the region with the most distinct accent and dialects in the entire planet is New York City.
New York City, yeah. I agree.
So, yeah, we get it. That's part of why I'm like, they sound how they sound.
It gives a location, though. Yeah, and it was like the Carbonista with that really strong British accent. I'm just like, okay, I guess British accents toward the universe, too.
But especially the more people migrate, like you can't tell where someone's by from their accent, which is why I love that Dan keeps bringing up Liverpool and not just relying on his accent. Mm-hmm. The one joke from Flux where Yaz is like, "Oh, are you from Liverpool? You've never mentioned." I burst out laughing because that was so funny.
John Pertwee was violent. I would say he was more 007, and then you mentioned Colin Baker was violent. Only to the extent I think he was loud and brash. I'm trying to see, and yeah, there have been times where he had to pick up a gun, but it was only in self-defense, especially when he was confronting the Ronnie and the Master at the same time. He had to pick up a gun to protect himself, so I got that point. And the War Doctor was genocidal, but
that's the point of the War Doctor.
He was pushed into it.
I think Ruth is Chibnall's attempt to do a War Doctor, basically.
No, that's division training officer. He still visits sister of mine every year. Okay.
Oh, well, who knows if he still does. He did for a while.
Actually, if you ever seen that, remember when they did the lockdowns on YouTube for Doctor Who?
Right, yeah.
The 13th Doctor broke her out.
Good for her.
We never noticed the Aztecs' British accent back in the day. Get lost in the stories and well, like I said, if this were, I can't blame. I could have as many arguments with the Talons of Wing Chiang, which is actually one of my favorite Classic Who episodes. And yes, it is probably the least PC of today. It probably would never be today if somebody said, "Okay, we're going to make this show and an episode." I meant the thing. What was it? The line that the magician says, it goes, "The bird has flown the cliff. One of us is yellow." I'm like, okay. We get it. That was the time, and I can't, I can't place time on everything. That if we're gonna blame time, go back and tell the caveman, "Hey, global warming is going to hit." So I mean, there's some point you have to say, "Listen, that was their time. That was it." If you're going to move forward, it's a different story. But as you can see, Kevin and I have our differences, and we're still sitting together. And I would buy him a. Do you drink beer?
I don't drink beer.
Okay, I would buy him a glass at the end of this and just say, "Hey, you know what? We had our discussion, and that's the most important thing." And I think we've kind of lost that in the geekdom. And again, that's just my opinion, but I think people should have opinions. How they address themselves, that's where I think we've lost everything thanks to the social media, of Twitter, the dumpster fire that it is, on Facebook and everything. And Jesus, we've been here for 2 hours. I was expecting just a regular show. So
Well, we're not going to be back until the spring for the show itself, so
that's true. Well, we still run episodes every week. We'll have a different episode regardless. As far as the review of the series is concerned, yeah, we have one in the spring, and then whenever the last one is, Jodie Swanson, the fall. So, Kevo, any last minute things before we tell everybody goodbye?
No, not really.
You wish, Mark.
I'm not eager about this huge gap we're going to have in Doctor Who production, but I understand why they have to do it.
Well, the COVID thing wasn't helpful. Like I said, I rated this a 5. You were mentioning about the relationship. I don't know why. I meant she was getting to the point where she pushed him to jump out in front of a Dalek. And now he's going to spend her time with her going around the world.
She's so intense. I don't get it.
I didn't get that relationship. I was like...
She really reminded me of Amy in a Zooey Deschanel versus Emily Deschanel sort of way. Like Amy Pond.
They are. I just didn't... Oh, okay.
Yeah, Amy Pond. She reminded me of Amy Pond.
I was assuming that he was pretending. Yeah, okay. Great show, guys. Can't still believe you're going. Yeah, I know. What are you doing, Val? No, I'm just giving you.
We're gonna need stuff to do while the show is on and off the air. Yeah, we should do a 24-hour live stream where we just talk about Doctor Who nonstop. Pajama party.
Like I said, I rated it a 5. No, thank you for coming on there, Mike, and thank Joey. I'm sorry he's having technical issues. We'll have him back on as soon as things. My pint of snake bite and black, please. Okay, well, thanks for having me on. Yep, it's again. We're going back to the core value of why this show exists, and maybe we don't agree with each other, and we're definitely going to disagree with a lot of things. But the whole purpose is that we talk it out, and we don't take it personally. At some point, Kevo's going to say something I might agree with, and I'm going to say something Kevo doesn't agree with. Doesn't matter. We're still WHOvians. And that's where I think the social media has just gone awry. Can you talk to somebody who you vehemently disagree with on a premise of something that you love, but have different values in the way that you love it? And I think the important part is the discussion. There at some point, for me, Kevo, I just tell him, if I can't convince you, walk away. It's fine, because I don't want to fight with you. There's no stake into this. If you like what's going on, if you don't like what's going on, fair. If you have your reasons, fair. And I understand where you're coming from on that. I may not disagree. I may not agree. There are certain aspects I think. I get what you're saying, if it's a slippery slope, but then I think, it could be also projection. It's just like, well, that may be not what they want, or maybe they're just not happy with Jodie, or maybe they're really not happy with Chibnall like I am. I will confess. I don't think Chibnall did any favors for Jodie whatsoever during this run. And when people go like, well, it's female representation, you know who I'm missing? I'm missing Leela. I'm missing Joe Grant. I'm missing the Ronnie. I'm missing Romana. What's she doing? I think this is an important story about female representation that has just gone completely silent, because she was technically the president of Gallifrey at the time that this all was going down.
And the Master shouldn't have been brought back again. And that's absolutely something that inherently.
Yes.
In fact, you could have gender flipped the Ronnie, and that would have been a unique flip on the character anyway. You still could have had Sacha Dhawan play the Ronnie. Why not? Do something weird.
But there's the monk.
Yeah, or there's the monk.
If anybody's going to gender flip, it's the monk, because the monk is just like sees value in everything. It's just like, well, it doesn't. But there's so many. This is where I really hit Chibnall in the verbal face on this, because it's not Doctor Who for me anymore. You're trying to do something and move on, but you still have this treasure trove waiting to be opened. And you can take it, open it up, and run with it and make it a beautiful thing, but yet you chose not to do it. And I think that is, I'm hoping, first of all, RTD, bring back the Christmas episodes, and RTD, remember what came before, because you did, bring it back, and then bring in the new stuff and work together. Then you can have the classic and the new WHOvians working together and enjoying something really cohesive. And then that opened that discussion up, because that's where I think also I think for me, and you can disagree with me on this, I think the showrunner is responsible for making sure that the WHOniverse is on a level playing field. Like, I'm bringing everybody in. I'm not excluding everybody. I'm making everybody inclusive. And I don't care who you are, what you look like, what you believe in. You're all here for a reason. You all came to the table for a reason. I'm going to do my best to move the story and the character along if there's a good reason behind it, and not just, I can see everybody's thought process as far as, okay, it's getting woke, we're checkmarking boxes, but is there a reason behind it? If you can make it work and make it part of the story and enhance the character, I'm with you, like Michelle Gomez. But if you can't, then I'm going to pull back, or I'm not going to buy that episode. I'm not going to buy that DVD, or I'm not going to go out there. I'm going to wait until you're gone, and then hopefully somebody else will bring in the new character or actor or actress and make this the show that it's supposed to be. Am I finished? I'm sorry, Mark. My goodness, yeah, it is 7:00 where you are. I'm sorry. I'm glad we did it today and this early so we can enjoy it. So, Kevin, as always, thank you for being on the show. Please check out Husbands Talking More or Less on his podcast. And, of course, please subscribe to the YouTube channel over here. Your comments are always welcome. We'll talk it out. And, Kevo, thanks for coming on, brother.
Yep. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Kevo, stay for a moment. I'm just going to run this and take care of yourself, guys.